Okay. Hi, Meredith. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
So, hi everyone. I'm Meredith Polansky. I'm a social studies teacher here at Sommers. This is my 5th year here at Sommers, but it's my 8th year teaching. I'm also the technology leader at the high school. I've been using technology in my classrooms forever. I came from Clarkstown for 3 years, so I was working with Google. I used Google at Sommers for a year, and now we're a Microsoft school. So we use Microsoft 365 as our platform. And so, but I'm used to working in a paperless classroom, so the transition was pretty easy. It's weird seeing myself on all the TVs.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, look, she can see herself on all the screens.
Weird.
Now you just get to look at yourself. It's okay.
Okay.
So can you just tell everyone a little bit about your journey, this new concept to you, 20% time? I think I might have overwhelmed them, and just maybe where to start. What advice would you give someone that's first thinking about this to take into consideration? And also, I think someone who teaches, let's say, a Regents level course and has a curriculum that they need to follow because their students need, you have a whole curriculum. What advice would you give to those two teachers, the first journey and taking tests into consideration?
Okay, so I actually first learned about 20 time by going to Heidi's session last year. And Heidi and I have a relationship from working together in Clarkstown. I actually attended her wedding. We are good friends. So I saw what she had to do, and I was like, let me see how this worked for me. So the first thing I did was I read the book. There's a 20 time book that's super easy to read. Like, it's super informative because it really simplifies everything to make it realistic. And it's the 20 time book by Kevin
Brookhauser.
Yeah. Totally helpful. It's like my little Bible when it comes to 20 time. So when I decided to take this on, I'm doing this in my US history 11R class. So this is a regular level class. And I'm doing it with my inclusion class. So half the class is special ed students and half the class are regular ed students. And I have never taught US history before. So this is my first time teaching US history, and it's my first time using 20 time all at once. And I'm doing an administrative internship. So it's a lot, but I find that if you teach and they're honest with the students that you're kind of learning this as you go, they're really receptive towards it. So when I first introduced 20 time to them, I was like, we're gonna have fun and we're gonna explore this. And if anything you get out of this, you're gonna learn how to read and write. And you're gonna do a lot of that. You're gonna do a lot of reading and you're gonna do a lot of writing and you're gonna like it. So, and the reason why I say you're gonna like it is because I say to them that we're gonna pick something of interest to you. And I think that was the most difficult thing that the students that was the most difficult thing for them to understand, was that I want you to do something that you like. So when I first mapped this out, I did a timeline. I don't know if you showed them my initial planning.
We're doing that next. That's our next activity.
Okay, so I pretty much mapped it out. And originally I'm working with another teacher who's never done 20 time before, who's a veteran teacher who wanted to really change his practice. So I needed to map it out for him. And originally we were gonna just do 20 weeks. And then as the semester went, and I wanted to really get some of the writing components and some skill building in there, I decided that I'm gonna make my project all year. So it's gonna be 40 weeks, a little less, but I'm gonna take it till May. And it's the flexibility and the communication with the students that we are going to kind of be flexible with this. So I first did the initial planning. I also got our librarian on board, as well as our writing center coordinator on board. So I bring in the writing center coordinator and the librarian probably every other Friday. So it's not just me. I have them on this journey with me, and it's super helpful because they're just as invested in it as well. So once I had the initial planning done, we kind of just trial and error. The idea was every Friday we were going to give the kids, you know, do the examples in the book. So the first one on Friday we did was a brainstorm of what 20 time, and I'm going to share my screen with you. Oh, that's not the one I want. I want this. So in the book, can everybody see my screen? So in the book, he says the first thing is to kind of understand what 20 time is. So this is my platform I use. It's a OneNote notebook. So the students on the first day figured out, kind of like they brainstormed what Genius Hour was and what 20 time was.
Can you explain the difference, Meredith? Because I haven't talked about that yet.
So the difference is just kind of the language that it's used. Genius Hour, by definition, is a movement that allows creativity in the classroom. And it's kind of it's a smaller concrete version of 20 time. So 20 time is really big picture, working on a project that is ongoing and has a lot of different facets. Whereas Genius Hour can be a small hands-on task using in the classroom time. So I think of Genius Hour as something very focused, whereas 20 time is broader in scope. Does that make sense?
Yes. Does anyone have questions? Okay, continue.
The next step that we did was, in the book, he talks about Bad Idea Factory.
Yeah, well, I first do that, so I'm so glad you're talking about it. I don't have time for it, so that's perfect that you're showing this.
Okay, so the first thing I did was I went over the blogging, and I explained to them that blogging is more of a accountability piece and then more of a and it's more of like, tell me where you're going. It's a reflection piece. So this is, again, straight out of the book, explaining, you know, what their blogs are supposed to be about.
Meredith, and I did a screen over because I can't see the whole screen. I see like my face. There you go.
All right. Sorry. Okay, so the blogging here is, I gave them a quick overview of what I wanted in each blog, and the students were having difficulty understanding what exactly needed to be in them. So I gave them these questions, as well as I made a rubric that goes along to grade the blogs. So it gave the kids a little bit more substance to what they needed to put in their blogs weekly. And you'll see that I stopped putting the links here because I use another platform to share out links. And then I mentioned the Bad Idea Factory. So here are some examples of the Bad Idea Factory posters that they drew. And according to the book, he says that they should write down bad ideas to get good ideas. So these are some of the bad ideas that my students wrote. And the ideas from here has turned into some really awesome projects. So from this particular class, I have a student working on fracking. I have a student that is talking about minimum wage. I have another student that's doing concussions, another student that's doing stuff about gun control laws. And so the range of questions are endless.
Okay, back to where we started.
Yeah. So what I was saying before was, after the Bad Idea Factory, when students started to realize, and this is where the trial and error comes in big time. So when the kids did the Bad Idea Factory, they had a really good time doing it, and they actually came up with some really great ideas. But since these are not honor students, so I stress that these are not honor students, and I have students in there that are in my inclusion class that are very, very limited. Okay, so this is something that, taking this on with an honors class, I would have kids trying to impress me, whereas these kids were just tell me what I need to do and I'll do it, right? So I was you know what, I'm gonna take this on because I think they'll be more interested. So a lot of the kids could not wrap their head around the fact that I wasn't asking them to do a report on the Civil War. And I kept saying, I don't want to read a report about the Civil War. I want to hear what you have to say about anything. And the question that I kept asking them was, what do you want to learn? And I kept it so open-ended, was, what do you want to learn? And relate it to a social, political, economic problem in the United States. And I've, again, have stretched that, because some kids were I'm really interested in the ecosystem and looking at sharks, with Heidi would love. And then they were also talking about, one kid wants to talk about concussions. And I was you know what? Go for it. Because really the skills that we're trying to get out of them, yeah, we want them to do U.S. history stuff, but really it can relate to anything that they're interested in, because I'm looking this as a research project to have them reading and writing often and getting feedback right away. And if those are the goals, then what exactly they're researching doesn't really matter, as long as it's staying within a certain focus. So my big concern is that it has to be US related, because that's what the course is. So it's been really helpful. And I even, so I've had to go back and forth, and that's why I have, let's try this again.
Uh-oh, I don't know if I want to do that.
I'm gonna try.
Okay. We might not see your face again, so goodbye in case we don't.
Okay, goodbye. That's what I want to happen. All right, it's being fussy, because again, I'm on a stupid surface.
Don't say that Benita is in the room.
Just kidding, just kidding.
I'm just kidding. She doesn't even have surfaces.
Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so what I did was I went back and I made like a Q&A, like what is 20 time, our purpose, our product, what will you be graded on? And these were the questions that the students kept asking. So I felt that it was necessary to make this document for them. So once they had this, and once they started like figuring out their ideas, they constantly were blogging. So first quarter, they did 7 blogs, which I could try to log in and to show you their blogs. But they really had to, trying to wrap their head around it. The next part of the assignment that needed some fixing was the proposal. And this I brought in the Writing Center teacher into, which is new this year. And we originally had the proposal with deliverables only for half the month. This proposal is right from the 20 time book. So this is not, I didn't create this, he did. And then we took the sample proposal that Kevin has on his website. And then the Writing Center teacher made this document for the students to figure out and read a proposal. So originally we had the proposal. So what we found with the proposals was that we wanted the student, they were having difficulty kind of mapping it out. And I had to do one day, I think mid-October. And then we decided that we wanted to have the students bring the proposals to the Writing Center to get them proofread, so that they can work on, the process of revisions, drafting, revising, having a finished product. So then our Writing Center teacher actually got jury duty. So she wasn't available for those meetings. So we did a peer revisions in class. So the students revised each other's proposals, and I had them grade the students' proposals based on a rubric that I gave them in class. And their feedback that they gave each other was unbelievable. So then I gave them back to the students to revise, and I currently have them because they were due Monday. They were due Monday, and I'm gonna just do final checks and give them back to the students. And then the next thing that we'll work on by the end of January would be the elevator pitches. So right now, the students that were having difficulty kind of wrapping their heads around this, once they had a formal proposal, they felt so much better. Almost all of them wrote in their blogs, now I have something to work towards. Now I have a goal. So now they just have to work towards it. The other thing that I changed was originally I had blog posts due every week, and I've changed it to every other week. But I told them that if we move it to every other week, I said that I'm only going to accept them to be 2 days late. I won't accept them after 2 days, it will be a 0. And they were okay with that. They were like, oh, okay, that's fine. So we kind of worked that out with the students. And then I told them that I want some concrete evidence by the January 1st deliverable. So I need to see that they're meeting their deliverable by January 1st as like the next assignment that I'll be checking and grading. And I told them that their deliverable needs to be what they told me it's going to be. So if they said they were going to collect 5 pieces of research and that they were going to reach out and contact with 5 people, I need to see that. to kind of see their progress. I told them that I'm not going to really grade them on the quality because I want them to work on that, but they have to kind of get through kind of working through the process. And then the elevator pitch will work on in January to the end of January, where they'll do their elevator pitch, which is like the midpoint of the project, which Kevin describes in the 20 Time book. But the best part about this was just the other day, I said to my students, I go, would you rather do this type of research assignment, or would you have rather a formal research? And they were like, we'd rather not do any research. I was like, well, that's not an option. So 20 Time or like a formal research. And one of my students goes, I really like this because I like the trial and error aspect of it. And I literally, I almost like started dancing in the classroom, and I was like, awesome, because that's exactly what this is. It's trial and error and you trying to work out the problems without me. And that particular student wants to create a dodgeball league in the town of Sommers, and he's already like reached out to like the town hall, and he's reached out to like all of these people to like really get things moving, and it's just so cool to see their process. So that's where I'm at right now. But again, like I said, it's the trial and error, and the honesty that I had with my students from the beginning was really important.
Librarian at my school, and I know you mentioned that you go to the library every other Friday. Can you kind of tell me a little more specifics about what, how the librarian is involved?
Yes, I'm back. So the librarian loves this project. Like, she really does love it. I don't know if you know Pam Reed. She's like all about this project. And so I kept her in the loop from the beginning and explained to her like what I wanted from this. So I told her that from the library perspective, I didn't want her to do, the typical going over databases and going over how to find correct research, because I want the kids to be tricked into kind of doing the research. Because if you're like, oh, I need X amount of research assignments by whatever, they're a little bit more hesitant to do it. So instead, I had her do, like in the beginning, advanced Google searches, like, how do we even know that what you're researching is even valid? Like, who's done this work prior to you doing this work? So how can experts in the field help you? Then she went into the databases after the proposals were due and kind of helped them kind of sift through them to help them understand their arguments. So if anybody there is a social studies teacher, with the new inquiries and the new frameworks, we're talking about a lot of claims and evidence-based to support those claims. So I asked the librarian to work with me to use that same language with the research in this process to support what the claim or what their project is based on the research of the librarian. Plus, she's just been a great resource to go to the students to bounce ideas off of. So I have one student that really was interested in doing video games and the dangers of video games. And her parents said to her, like, there's not enough information out there. So she went to the librarian and was like, can I just get some evidence or stuff? Like, can you help me show my parents that there's so much evidence out here? And so the librarian just like helped her gather a bunch of stuff so that she could bring it home and say, see, Mom and Dad, like, I can do a whole project on this. And so it's just another person in the building that the students know that they can go to who also knows what they're doing.
So Meredith, you talked about parents. Heidi's parents are not involved in her 20% project. So could you talk a little bit about how your parents are involved?
Well, we did send home Kevin suggests in his book to send home an email to the parents to explain what we'll be doing in class. And so the person I work with and myself did do that. So I can send Alana a copy of that letter that we sent home to the parents. We wrote it from scratch. Actually, I don't know if he did. I didn't write it. He did. But he wrote the letter and sent it home to the parents to kind of give them a heads up. We did get a little bit of pushback at open house when we explained that we would be doing 20 Time. And so when we were doing this, we were doing the pushback. So the parents were like, are you going to get to the content? Like, are my kids going to do well in the regions? And we're like, yes, your kids will be having the skills to do well in the regions because they'll be reading and writing all the time. If they can read and write, they'll do well on any tests. And that's evidence that's been proven. Yeah, it's a little bit harder to prove to teachers now, especially with APPR scores and all of that stuff. But we're also going to finish the 20 time projects by early May, so that we can kind of fill in the blanks with curriculum if we need to, that we may have missed. But that was the biggest concern with parents, that their kids wouldn't get the content that they needed for the Regents exam. And I think that they're going to get more than what they need for the Regents exam.
No, some questions? What about a question from the document that you want answered for? Yes. All right, we also have a document of questions. Did I tell you this?
No.
Okay, so we have a document of ongoing questions, and I shared it with Heidi, and she's purple ink. You can't be purple, but you get to pick a color, and you can answer it in a different color.
Okay.
So thank you for that ahead of time.
Yeah, no problem. I just think you guys are probably fried. It's 2 o'clock and you've been doing this all day, so I understand. But just know that kids like the honesty and they like trying new things. And I think that I really have bonded with my classes because I was so upfront with them, saying like, this is new, let's give it a shot, and showing them like my flexibility with it. But at the same time, there's plenty of accountability. You know, at first the blogs, I knew they were working out some kinks, so I was a little flexible with deadlines. But now it's like, I'm not so flexible. You know, so it's a matter of give and take, and knowing what the end goal of the students, what you want from your students. So the end goal is having the students be able to research, be able to read, write, and explore a topic that they love. And it's a win-win for everybody. So that's why I'm not so harsh.
Okay, any other questions, anyone? Okay, thank you, Meredith.
Yeah, you're welcome, everybody. Next time, I know it's late, so.
Okay. Well, we got we got Heidi really early, and we got you really late, so it just whenever.
If anybody has any questions, I'm open. You can, Juan will give you my contact information, and you're more than welcome to get in touch with me. I don't know if Heidi still uses her worksheet that she passes back. I'm not even that structured. I've never been like that as a teacher anyway, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel at all. So
how do your students, how do you check in on them? That's a good question. How do you make sure they're meeting their goals?
Their blogs, and then I'll do deliverable measurements bi-monthly.
Bi-monthly, okay.
Yeah, because every month, because I have such a selection of students, like such varied abilities, if I did every month, I think they would be really overwhelmed.
And what does your classroom look like on Fridays?
Kids just working with each other, and because these are independent projects, so they're working alone or they're bouncing ideas. I usually call up students to my desk to kind of check their progress, and it's usually them just like searching. And then if we go to the library, the kids are working with the librarian or the writing center. Teacher will pop in and see how the kids are doing, but really they're very independent.
Okay. Well, thank you, Meredith.
You're welcome, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.